Where are you from?
The government calls it Turning Point Reserve. We call it home.
Your eyes, they tell a story. I first found beauty in your eyes.
I feel like the weather outside. Changing, challenging, tired of fighting for my worth.
Darlene, I want to say to you that I have been haunted by Stellar since I saw it at TIFF. Absolutely haunted. I think of it often. It's because it combines a surreal with a kind of reality and juxtaposes that next to the natural world. And the subject matter is just so profound. I mean, wow. How did this take shape for you?
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, it was like it was an interesting time because I originally wrote it as a short story, and I was also going through the process of starting to leave a very long relationship, and so I think those combinations of just being in a space where you need to leave and
Yeah.
having hope, you know what I mean, that something is going to change. So it came from that. And then as Indigenous people, we don't see a lot of love, we don't see a lot of sex for Indigenous characters. And
Oh, yeah.
so it like about so I wanted to really just start talking about that in a way that was really positive, and that it was that it gave hope.
He and she are in a bar, and it's a very strange bar. It's in Sudbury, and we're learning about the creation story and how the earth was rent and how he and she had to put it back together again. And these two seem like, if I'm getting it right, seems like these are the two least likely people to do that, because they're not out there sort of, helping and fighting the fires that are around. They're sitting drinking. So tell me about that.
I just really honestly, I thought about these two really, like, in a way, broken characters who are trying to find their way in their own lives, and then try to find each other. But the fires and everything that's happening around them is really kind of their past and their future and the moments that are there. So, looking at colonialism, looking at residential schools, looking at what has happened realistically in their lives, into their communities, this was the metaphors were that all of this is still at them and they can fall in love.
Yeah, they can fall in love, but there's nothing they can do about the past fires, I guess.
I can make this moment last a little longer. Staring at your curves and falling for every word. I never thought I'd say that love could be the answer. Baby, now I know it's you who lifts this curse. I'll give you my all. If you say
I was thinking I was tired, but then I realized it's not exhaustion. It's the narrative that continues that is tiring.
Yeah, so the nature scenes, in context to the film, they made me a little bit sad, because the profoundness that I got from the film just sort of sparks that realization, that nature is kind of doomed under us. And I thought that was a brilliant juxtaposition.
Part of my work has always been around so I'm from, my community is a Tikmikshing Anishinaabe. So Sudbury is currently in our territory. And so our history and our story has been from when the railroad came in and they first found high price and they found minerals. And so there's been mining in our areas for a long time. And it's all been about profit. And so taking as much as they want from the land.
Yeah.
And not really giving it back. You know what I mean? There's been, throughout the years, there's been reforestation. But realistically, this is the environment that we're all surrounded by, is these scars on the land, from taking from the industrial, taking from forestry, everything's just being taken and taken and taken. So I
Modern,
wanted to
yeah.
represent that in their stories, because that's where they come from as communities. And so so I wanted to be able to see that realistic and give those character an understanding and our viewers an understanding of their home and their realities, you know, the beauty, and then also the destruction that's happened to the earth.
Teeny tiny little cramped bar with a few characters, and that increases our sense of anxiety about what's happening outside. What was it like for you maneuvering in that space with the actors?
Yeah, no, that was really interesting, especially shooting during a pandemic.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, so it definitely had its challenges, and I actually think that it one, the pandemic, but also those small spaces for everybody to create in, really gave an understanding of what was how to do it right. So down from design, down from the clothing, costume, we had long conversations about that, and how this space, kind of as narrow and as small it is, that there was still all of these things that were around it. So I think it helped all of the crew understand, you know what I mean, that kind of feeling of being closed in. And it was really hot in there.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, the design of the bar was so beautiful and so great. And our our director, and Taya Holtz, she did such an amazing job in recreating these ideas. And so when me and Matthew Sege, the DOP, we found so many spaces that we can, you know, it's unbelievable how much you can move around a small space and still be able to. So we gave ourselves a lot of rules, where it's like we didn't go behind the bar till a certain time.
Oh,
There's colors that, you know what I mean, that we didn't see until near the end. There was never any green until everything started to regrow. And then just those urgencies of those flashes and all of that came in. And then when we worked with Steven Sangster, our special effects, it was just really kind of like, okay, now we're heightening it on another level. So it was really beautiful to be able to collaborate in that way with all of these people, and just to let that happen.
well, the result is just breathtaking to me. I mean, I can just see it in my head, and the language, the visuals, the back and forth, the sort of in and out of realities. And it was mysterious. It's a little depressing at times. It's very hopeful at times. There's just so much in it. How close did it come to what you saw in your head before you started?
So visually, all of that was like kind of in my head. And when we started to like just kind of like starting to create it on levels and more levels and more levels, you know, we went back to characters. We went back to the, you know, the idea that this was a city, and it wasn't their city. So those unfamiliar but familiar spaces, like a bar can feel, you know, like it could be like, you know, coming into a space that's like you and the bartender and, you know, the people around, and you're dancing and things like that, but yet it's not your space too. So
right.
we played with a lot of those ideas, and really started like understanding the characters and the motivations around it. We were shooting in that, but then there was an added part. So all the time we were shooting with this green screen. And so for actors to motivate themselves and to create those emotions and those directions around a green screen is just really, you know, it just shows how brilliant they are. And just allowing those characters to play in that.
That's great. And you know what, about that bar, it was really cozy to me, and I wanted to stay there. I wanted to stay there the rest of the night. You know, it was, and that was kind of comforting.
Nice.
And I'm wondering, is there a plan yet to send the film out into the world, or are you working on that?
Yeah, so right now we'll start our theatrical release, and then
Canada?
so then we will go on to broadcast with Crave and CBC. Yeah, and I'm still looking for US opportunities, and we did a fantastic festival release. We started at TIFF and managed to we had a great European debut in
Oh my
Finland, in
God.
Scotland, and
Yay.
then down in the States in Santa Barbara, and just like it's just the audiences have been really amazing, and I think that's just the beauty of what I love, being able to like walk in and having people experience and you know what I mean, feel that, you know, ultimately feel that history and feel that understanding, but then feel that love and that hope. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you succeeded. It is one of my
Thank you.
favorite recent films. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it, Darlene.
Yeah.
I'll give you my all. If you say that you care for me, say that you care for me. I'll give you my all. If you say you'll be there for me, say you'll be there.
Giganda na.
Give you my all.
Wawa ne shiki. Yeah,
I'll give you my all.